Imagine a castle that seems to grow directly from a cliff face, as if the mountain itself dreamed it into existence. This is what medieval architects achieved when they had unlimited imagination and refused to accept the word impossible. Across Europe, hidden in forgotten valleys and perched on ancient volcanic peaks, stand castles that challenge everything we think we know about what humans can build. While most travelers follow the same tired castle trail, visiting the same overcrowded fortresses that every guidebook mentions, there's an entire world of architectural marvels waiting to be discovered. Castles so extraordinary, they seem like fairy tales. Fortresses so ingenious, they still puzzle modern engineers. Palaces so beautiful, they inspired the greatest storytellers in history. Here's what fascinates me most about these forgotten masterpieces. Each one represents a moment when someone looked at an impossible location or an unsolvable problem and said, "I'm going to build something magnificent here anyway." They didn't have modern technology, unlimited budgets, or computer modeling. They had vision, determination, and an absolute refusal to compromise their dreams. The result? Architectural wonders that seem to defy the laws of physics. A castle literally carved into a living cliff, a fortress that has stood unconquered for nearly 1,000 years, a fairy tale palace so perfect it looks like Disney brought a storybook to life, except it was built centuries before Walt Disney was even born. Today, I'm taking you on a journey through 12 of Europe's most extraordinary castles. Not the obvious ones that everyone knows, but also hidden gems that will make you question everything you thought you knew about medieval architecture and human possibility. These aren't just ancient buildings. They're proof that when imagination meets determination, the impossible becomes inevitable. Ready to discover castles that will change how you see the world? Let's begin with something that truly shouldn't exist. Picture this. You're standing in front of what looks like a solid limestone cliff in the Slovenian countryside. Then you notice something impossible. Windows carved directly into living rock, a drawbridge extending from solid stone. This is Predjama Castle, the world's only fortress built completely within a cave mouth. Here's what guidebooks won't tell you. When rebel knight Erasem Luga chose this location in the 15th century, he wasn't just building a fortress, he was creating medieval Europe's most audacious middle finger to the Habsburg Empire. The story begins with murder. Erasem killed a relative of the Holy Roman Emperor in a duel. Rather than face execution, he retreated to this impossible location and began what can only be described as medieval trolling on an epic scale. The Habsburgs sent an army to starve him out, but here's where it gets incredible. While imperial forces camped outside for months eating stale bread, Erasem would regularly drop fresh fruit and roasted meat from his windows. How was this possible? The secret was a network of natural caves connecting to hidden valleys where allies could resupply him indefinitely. The Habsburgs were laying siege to the visible tip of an iceberg, while the rebel knight lived comfortably in his mountain fortress, supplied through passages they never knew existed. After 366 days, Erasem was finally killed through betrayal. A servant was bribed to signal when he was in the guardrobe. One well-placed cannonball ended the siege, but the legend was born. For travelers today, Predjama offers something no other European castle can. You'll explore the same cave passages that allowed one man to mock an empire. Visit May through October when the castle tour includes the secret cave system behind the fortress. The underground passages extend over 2 miles into the mountain and maintain a constant 10 degrees Celsius year-round, so bring a jacket. Pro tip: arrive early morning or late afternoon for the best photography. The limestone cliff face creates dramatic shadows that change throughout the day. Most tour groups visit midday when lighting is flat. The castle is just 45 minutes from Ljubljana, and perfectly combined with nearby Škocjan Caves, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Together they showcase Slovenia's incredible karst landscape that makes fortresses like this possible. But Predjama is just the beginning, because what I'm about to show you next involves the real Dracula and makes this impossible castle look almost conventional. Forget everything you think you know about Dracula's castle. Bran Castle gets all the tourists, but it's built on a lie. Vlad the Impaler never lived there, never owned it, and probably visited maybe once in his entire life. The real Dracula connection is here, at Corvin Castle in Hunedoara, Romania, and the truth is far more chilling than any Hollywood movie. This Gothic masterpiece rises from the Romanian countryside like something from a fever dream. Soaring towers, massive drawbridges, and a silhouette that seems to defy gravity. But here's what makes it truly terrifying. This is where Vlad III, the man who inspired Dracula, was actually imprisoned for 7 years. The story most people don't know starts in 1462. Vlad had been captured by his former ally, John Hunyadi, and brought to this fortress not as a guest, but as a prisoner. For 7 long years, the man who would become the world's most famous vampire was locked in the tower that still bears his name today. But here's where it gets interesting. Vlad wasn't just sitting in a dungeon. He was being held by one of medieval Europe's most powerful families, and this castle was their demonstration of that power. Every stone was chosen to intimidate, every tower designed to remind visitors that the Hunyadis could crush kingdoms. The castle itself is an architectural masterpiece that makes other medieval fortresses look primitive. Built in the 14th century and expanded over 200 years, it represents the peak of Gothic military architecture in Eastern Europe. The main keep rises 30 meters above the courtyard, connected to the outer walls by a bridge that spans a 30-meter deep moat. For modern travelers, Corvin Castle offers the most authentic Dracula experience in Romania. The Vlad Dracul Tower, where the Impaler was actually imprisoned, is open to visitors and contains medieval artifacts from his era. Unlike Bran Castle's tourist shops and crowds, Corvin maintains an authentically medieval atmosphere. Visit during autumn for the full Gothic experience, when morning mist rises from the surrounding valleys. The castle is easily accessible from Cluj-Napoca, about 90 minutes by car, and the nearby city of Hunedoara offers excellent traditional Romanian restaurants. Pro tip: book the evening tour if available. Corvin Castle at sunset, with its massive towers silhouetted against the sky, is genuinely haunting in ways that tourist-trap Bran Castle never could be. But if you think a real vampire's prison is impressive, wait until you see what happens when a fairy tale castle gets more Instagram posts than Neuschwanstein, yet somehow nobody knows its name. Here's a question that will break your brain. What castle appears in more Instagram posts than Neuschwanstein, gets shared more than any other European fortress, yet 90% of people couldn't tell you its name or location if their life depended on it? Welcome to Bojnice Castle in Slovakia, Europe's most beautiful secret hiding in plain sight. This fairy tale masterpiece looks like Disney animators brought a storybook to life. Romantic towers, delicate spires, and a silhouette so perfect it seems impossible. Built on a travertine hill overlooking the town of Bojnice, this castle has been quietly breaking the internet for years, while everyone focuses on overcrowded German alternatives. The secret behind its perfection: Count János Ferenc Pálffy, a 19th century romantic who spent his fortune transforming a medieval fortress into the ultimate fairy tale fantasy. Inspired by French chateaux of the Loire Valley, he imported the finest craftsmen and artists to create something that had never existed before. a castle that looked exactly like childhood dreams of what castles should be. But here's what makes this castle special beyond its looks. It's one of the few European castles where you can experience medieval life without crowds. While tour buses dump thousands at Neuschwanstein daily, Bojnice remains wonderfully undiscovered by mass tourism. The interior is equally stunning. Original Renaissance and Gothic furnishings, a romantic cave beneath the altar of the castle chapel, and the famous Golden Hall where nobles once danced. Every room tells a story of aristocratic life at its most refined. For travelers, this castle offers the fairy tale castle experience, without the fairy tale crowds. Located just 2 hours from Vienna or 3 from Prague, it's easily accessible, yet feels like a secret discovery. The castle is open year-round, but spring visits offer blooming gardens that complete the storybook atmosphere. Photography tip: the best shots are from the castle park, especially during golden hour, when warm light hits the limestone walls. Unlike Neuschwanstein's restricted photo zones, Bojnice welcomes photographers throughout the grounds. The nearby Bojnice Zoo, one of Europe's most beautiful, makes this a perfect family destination that combines fairy tale magic with practical travel value. But fairy tales aside, our next castle makes Bojnice look small. We're heading to the largest brick fortress in the world, where medieval monks built something that defied every rule of castle construction. Imagine a castle so massive it covers 52 acres, larger than Windsor Castle, bigger than many European city centers. Now imagine it was built entirely by warrior monks who took vows of poverty. Welcome to Malbork Castle, the largest brick fortress in the world, and a testament to what happens when religious fanatics get unlimited funding. This isn't just a castle, it's a medieval city that happened to have walls around it. Built by the Teutonic Knights in the 13th century, Malbork was designed to be the headquarters of a military order that controlled most of the Baltic coast. These weren't ordinary monks. They were warrior priests who combined religious devotion with ruthless efficiency. The scale is genuinely mind-breaking. The High Castle alone contains enough space for a small town. The Middle Castle housed workshops, kitchens and barracks for thousands of soldiers. The Outer Castle provided additional defenses and space for civilians during sieges. Together they created a fortress that could withstand anything medieval warfare could throw at it. But here's what makes Malbork truly special. It was built using techniques that wouldn't be seen again until the Industrial Revolution. The Teutonic Knights imported brick-making technology from Germany and created a production system that could manufacture millions of standardized bricks. They essentially invented mass production 500 years before Henry Ford. The result is architectural perfection that still astonishes engineers today. Walls up to 8 meters thick, towers that rise 50 meters above the Nogat River, and a defensive system so sophisticated it inspired fortress design across Europe. For travelers, Malbork offers something no other European castle can match: the chance to walk through a complete medieval world. The castle houses the largest collection of medieval weaponry in Poland, authentic period furnishings, and detailed exhibitions about life in a military order. Located just 60 kilometers from Gdansk, Malbork makes an excellent day trip from Poland's coastal regions. The castle is fully wheelchair accessible and offers audio guides in multiple languages. Pro tip: visit during the medieval festivals held each summer, when the castle comes alive with knights, artisans, and demonstrations of medieval warfare. But even this fortress of warrior monks pales before our next destination. Hidden in the Dutch countryside lies a fairy tale castle that looks too perfect to be real. Here's something that will break your understanding of medieval architecture. What you're looking at isn't actually medieval at all. The Haar Castle looks like the perfect Gothic fortress, complete with soaring towers and romantic moat. But this masterpiece was built in the 1890s by a baron who spent his entire fortune recreating his vision of the perfect medieval castle. Baron Etienne van Zolen van Nijvelt had a problem. His family's ancestral castle had fallen into ruins, but he possessed unlimited wealth and an obsession with medieval romance. So he hired Pierre Cuypers, architect of Amsterdam's Rijksmuseum, and told him to build the most beautiful castle in Europe. The project took 20 years and nearly bankrupted one of the Netherlands' richest families. The result is architectural perfection that makes actual medieval castles look primitive. Every stone was hand-carved, every tower designed with mathematical precision, every room filled with authentic medieval art collected from across Europe. The baron literally bought entire medieval rooms from Italian palaces and reconstructed them inside his dream castle. But here's what makes De Haar truly extraordinary. To build his perfect castle, the baron moved an entire village. The town of Harzwelens was relocated brick by brick to make room for elaborate gardens. Imagine having enough money to move a town because it spoiled your view. The interior is museum-quality medieval art, furniture and armor. The dining hall seats 100 guests, the library contains priceless manuscripts, and bedrooms are decorated with tapestries from European royal palaces. For travelers today, De Haar offers medieval perfection without medieval discomfort. Modern heating and electricity were seamlessly integrated into Gothic design. You experience medieval romance with 19th century luxury. Located just 30 minutes from Utrecht, De Haar is easily accessible by train and bus. The castle sits in the Netherlands' largest castle park, perfect for photography with formal gardens, ancient trees, and romantic bridges. Pro tip: visit during seasonal events, when costumed actors bring medieval atmosphere to life. The Christmas market is particularly magical. Our next destination takes us to Wales, where Edward I built a fortress so intimidating it crushed an entire nation's independence. Picture this. You're standing before 8 massive towers that have dominated the Welsh coastline for over 700 years. This isn't just a castle, this is Conwy, the centerpiece of Edward I's Iron Ring, a network of fortresses designed to crush Welsh independence forever. And it worked. Here's what most people don't understand about Conwy Castle. It wasn't built to defend England from Wales. It was built to demonstrate that resistance was futile. Edward I wanted every Welsh person who saw these towers to know that English power was absolute and permanent. The construction story is staggering. Edward imported 1,500 craftsmen and workers from across England. In just 4 years, they built not only the castle, but an entirely new English town to surround it. The Welsh population of Conwy was forcibly relocated outside the walls. Their own land became foreign territory overnight. But here's where the story gets truly ruthless. The castle's design wasn't just about military strength. Those 8 towers were psychological warfare. Each one rises over 30 meters high, visible for miles across the Welsh landscape. Medieval people had never seen anything like this scale of construction. It was meant to break their spirit before any battle began. The defensive system is genuinely ingenious. Concentric walls create multiple killing zones for attackers. The Great Hall sits 20 meters above sea level, protected by layers of fortifications. Even if enemies breached the outer walls, they'd face a maze of death traps before reaching the keep. What strikes me most about Conwy is how it reveals medieval warfare's true nature. This wasn't about honor or chivalry. It was about terror, control, and the systematic destruction of a culture. Edward succeeded so completely that Welsh independence wouldn't return for centuries. For modern travelers, Conwy offers the most complete medieval fortress experience in Britain. You can walk the entire circuit of walls, climb every tower, and experience the same commanding views that English garrison soldiers saw. The town below still follows Edward's original street plan from 1283. Located on the North Wales coast, Conwy is easily accessible by train from London or Manchester. The castle sits directly beside the railway station, making it perfect for day trips. Pro tip: climb the chapel tower at sunset for spectacular views across the Conwy estuary. The same perspective that once symbolized conquest now offers some of Wales' most beautiful photography. But if you think crushing a nation is impressive, wait until you see what happens when English kings turn their architectural ambitions toward pure luxury. Here's something that will blow your mind about medieval warfare. In over 1,000 years of existence, Warwick Castle has never fallen to a siege, not once. While other English fortresses crumbled under attack, Warwick stood impregnable through the Wars of the Roses, civil wars, and countless rebellions. The secret? Location, innovation, and the most ruthless family in English history. Built by William the Conqueror in 1068, Warwick wasn't just another Norman fortress. It was strategically positioned to control the heart of England, sitting on a rocky outcrop above the River Avon. Any army trying to move through central England had to deal with Warwick Castle first. But here's what makes Warwick truly special. The Beauchamp family, who controlled the castle for centuries, turned it into a laboratory for military innovation. They pioneered new defensive techniques, experimented with artillery, and created siege engines that terrified their enemies. The Great Hall contains the finest collection of medieval weapons in England, including the armor of the Earl of Warwick himself. The castle's most famous resident was Richard Neville, known as Warwick the Kingmaker. This man literally controlled who became King of England during the Wars of the Roses. He put Edward IV on the throne, then later deposed him and restored Henry VI. No castle in English history wielded more political power. The defensive innovations are genuinely impressive. The gatehouse features multiple murder holes, the walls incorporate the latest artillery-resistant design, and the keep provides commanding views over approaches from every direction. Medieval attackers faced a fortress that seemed to anticipate their every move. For modern travelers, Warwick offers the most complete medieval castle experience in England. You can climb the towers, walk the battlements, and experience medieval life through interactive exhibitions. The castle's dungeon provides a genuinely chilling glimpse into medieval justice. Located just 90 minutes from London by train, Warwick is perfectly positioned for day trips. The nearby town offers excellent restaurants, and the castle hosts year-round events, including medieval tournaments and falconry displays. Pro tip: visit during the castle's evening events, when torchlight illuminates the ancient walls. The atmosphere transforms completely after dark, making it feel authentically medieval. Our next castle takes us to a land where fairy tales were born, but this one has a secret that Walt Disney never wanted you to discover. Everyone knows Neuschwanstein Castle. It's the Disney castle, the fairy tale fantasy, the most photographed fortress in Europe. But here's what Disney never told you. This romantic masterpiece was built by a king so mentally unstable that his own government declared him insane and had him killed. King Ludwig II of Bavaria didn't just build Neuschwanstein, he escaped into it. Obsessed with medieval legends and Wagner's operas, Ludwig created a fantasy world where he could live as the perfect knight king that reality would never let him become. This isn't medieval architecture. It's a 19th century theme park built by a man losing touch with reality. Ludwig bankrupted Bavaria, building his dream castles. While his people struggled with poverty, he spent fortunes on golden halls that only he would see. The throne room contains no throne, because Ludwig died before it could be installed. He lived in his fantasy for just 172 days before his ministers declared him unfit to rule. The circumstances of Ludwig's death remain one of Europe's greatest mysteries. Found floating in Lake Starnberg, alongside his psychiatrist, both men dead under suspicious circumstances. Was it suicide? Murder? The truth died with them, but the timing was convenient for those who wanted Ludwig's expensive dreams to end. Here's the incredible irony. The castle that nearly destroyed Bavaria became its greatest asset. Neuschwanstein now attracts over 1.3 million visitors annually, generating more revenue than Ludwig ever spent building it. His madness created one of the world's most successful tourist attractions. The interior reveals Ludwig's obsessions in stunning detail. The Singers' Hall recreates Wagner opera scenes in elaborate murals. The artificial grotto features a waterfall and revolutionary lighting for the 1880s. Every room tells the story of a man living inside a fairy tale. For travelers, Neuschwanstein remains magical despite its dark history. Located near Füssen, it's easily accessible from Munich. Book tickets online well in advance, as daily entry is strictly limited. Pro tip: skip the crowded castle tour and hike to Marienbrücke Bridge for the classic postcard view. Early morning offers the best lighting and fewer crowds. Our next castle proves that not all fairy tales end tragically. We're heading to Austria, where a fortress has stood unconquered for nearly 1,000 years. Here's something that will blow your mind about medieval warfare. While every other castle in Europe has fallen to siege at least once, Hohensalzburg Fortress in Salzburg has never been conquered. Not once in 900 years. No army has ever breached its walls. No siege has ever starved it out. This is the most successful fortress in European history. Built in 1077 by Archbishop Gebhard, Hohensalzburg wasn't designed to be beautiful. It was designed to be absolutely impregnable. Perched 400 feet above Salzburg, on sheer rock, the fortress commands views for miles. Medieval armies couldn't approach without being seen hours in advance. The archbishops who built it understood psychological warfare. The fortress wasn't just militarily strong, it was visually terrifying. Those massive walls rising from solid rock told every potential attacker, "You cannot win here." The defensive innovations are brilliant. The fortress has its own water supply, granaries for years of food storage, and armories stocked with weapons for a small army. The single narrow access road creates a perfect killing zone where attackers would be slaughtered before reaching the gates. During the Peasants' War of 1525, Hohensalzburg faced its greatest test. Rebels surrounded the fortress and demanded surrender. The garrison's response? They played music from the walls while the peasants starved below. After months of futile siege, the rebels gave up and went home. The fortress had won without firing a shot. The interior reveals the wealth of Salzburg's archbishops. The Golden Hall features elaborate frescoes and one of Austria's finest medieval interiors. The Fortress Museum contains authentic weapons, armor, and displays about medieval stronghold life. For travelers, Hohensalzburg offers spectacular views over Mozart's birthplace and the Alps beyond. The fortress is accessible by funicular railway from Salzburg's Old Town, perfect for all ages. Located in Salzburg's heart, the fortress combines perfectly with Mozart-related attractions. Christmas markets at the fortress base create magical winter atmosphere. Pro tip: visit at sunset when the fortress walls glow golden against the darkening sky. The views over Salzburg and surrounding mountains are breathtaking. But our next destination takes us from military might to pure romance. We're heading to Scotland, where a fortress sits on an extinct volcano in the heart of a capital city. You're standing in the heart of Scotland's capital city, looking up at a fortress that sits on top of an extinct volcano. This isn't some remote mountain stronghold. This is Edinburgh Castle, perched on Castle Rock in the center of one of Europe's most beautiful cities, and it holds secrets that shaped the destiny of nations. Here's what most tourists don't realize: that dramatic rocky outcrop isn't just a hill. It's the plug of an ancient volcano that last erupted 350 million years ago. Medieval kings didn't just choose this location for its views. They built their fortress on geological foundations that make it virtually impossible to attack. Edinburgh Castle isn't just Scotland's most famous fortress. It's the birthplace of Scottish independence. This is where the Stone of Destiny was kept for centuries, the ancient coronation stone that legitimized Scottish kings. When Edward I stole it in 1296, he wasn't just taking a rock, he was attempting to steal Scotland's right to exist as a nation. The castle's most dramatic moment came during the Lang Siege of 1573. Defenders held out for 2 years against overwhelming odds, firing cannons from the battlements while the city below starved. When they finally surrendered, only a handful of men remained alive. Their sacrifice became legend. But here's what makes Edinburgh Castle truly special. It's still an active military installation. The 1 o'clock gun fires every day except Sundays, a tradition that began in 1861 to help ships in the harbor set their clocks. You're not just visiting a museum, you're standing in a fortress that's been continuously occupied for over 1,000 years. The crown jewels of Scotland, including the Stone of Destiny, finally returned in 1996, are displayed in the Crown Room. St. Margaret's Chapel, built in 1130, is the oldest surviving building in Edinburgh. For travelers, Edinburgh Castle offers unparalleled views over the city and beyond to the Highlands. Located on the Royal Mile, it's the perfect starting point for exploring Edinburgh's Old Town. Valuable tip: visit during the Edinburgh Military Tattoo in August, when the castle becomes the backdrop for one of the world's greatest military spectacles. Our next castle proves that size isn't everything. We're heading to Ireland, where a modest fortress controlled an entire kingdom for 800 years. Here's something that will blow your mind about medieval power. One family controlled Kilkenny Castle for over 800 years. The Butler family, Earls of Ormond, held this Irish stronghold from 1391 until 1967, making it the longest continuous family ownership of any castle in Europe. This wasn't just a home, this was the seat of Anglo-Norman power in Ireland for 8 centuries. Built in 1195 by William Marshal, one of medieval Europe's greatest knights, Kilkenny wasn't designed to blend into the Irish landscape, it was built to dominate it. Those 4 massive round towers rising above the River Nore sent a clear message to Gaelic Ireland: Norman power was here to stay. But here's what makes Kilkenny's story truly remarkable. While other Norman families in Ireland gradually became more Irish than the Irish themselves, the Butlers remained stubbornly English. They spoke English, followed English customs, and served English kings even when it meant fighting their Irish neighbours. The castle's most dramatic period came during the Confederate Wars of the 1640s. Kilkenny became the capital of Confederate Ireland, a Catholic alliance that challenged English Protestant rule. For 6 years, this castle was effectively the seat of an independent Irish government. When Cromwell's forces finally captured it in 1650, they found a fortress that had become the symbol of Irish resistance. The interior reveals the evolution of aristocratic taste over 8 centuries. The long gallery stretches 150 feet and contains portraits of the Butler family spanning 400 years. You can literally watch Irish history unfold through the faces of one extraordinary family. What strikes me most about Kilkenny is how it survived. While other Anglo-Norman castles fell into ruin or were abandoned, the Butlers continuously renovated and modernized their stronghold. The result is a perfect fusion of medieval fortress and elegant mansion. For travelers today, Kilkenny offers the most complete castle experience in Ireland. The restored rooms showcase authentic period furniture, while the grounds include beautiful gardens and parkland perfect for walks along the River Nore. Located in Kilkenny city centre, the castle anchors one of Ireland's most charming medieval towns. The surrounding streets contain excellent restaurants, traditional pubs, and craft shops. Pro tip: visit during Kilkenny Arts Festival in August, when the castle grounds host outdoor performances against the backdrop of medieval towers. Our final castle takes us to Spain, where Christian and Islamic architecture created something that shouldn't exist. Here's something that will break your brain about medieval architecture. The Alcázar of Segovia looks like a massive stone ship sailing across the Spanish countryside. That's not an accident. This extraordinary fortress was built where 2 rivers meet, creating a natural ship's bow that inspired one of Europe's most unique castle designs. But here's what makes this story truly incredible. The Alcázar isn't just Christian or Islamic architecture. It's both. Built on the foundations of a Roman fort, expanded by Islamic rulers, then transformed by Christian kings, this castle represents 1,000 years of Spanish history layered into a single extraordinary building. The Islamic influence is unmistakable in the geometric patterns and horseshoe arches, while the soaring towers and defensive walls showcase Christian military architecture. The result is something that exists nowhere else in Europe, a fortress that looks like it belongs in both Andalusia and northern France simultaneously. King Alfonso X, known as the Wise, made the Alcázar his primary residence in the 13th century. This is where he established his famous school of translation, where Islamic, Jewish, and Christian scholars worked together to preserve and translate ancient texts. The castle wasn't just a fortress, it was medieval Europe's most important center of learning. The most famous room is the Hall of Kings, where the ceiling features carved and painted figures of all Spanish monarchs from Peleo to Juana la Loca. It's like a medieval PowerPoint presentation of Spanish royal history, carved in wood and painted in gold. But the Alcázar's most romantic claim to fame, Walt Disney used it as inspiration for Cinderella's castle. Those fairy tale turrets and the ship-like silhouette became the template for the most famous castle in animation history. The tragedy came in 1862, when fire destroyed much of the interior. What visitors see today is a meticulous 19th century reconstruction based on historical records and archaeological evidence. It's authentic in spirit, even if not every stone is original. For travelers, the Alcázar offers one of Spain's most spectacular castle experiences. The tower climb provides panoramic views over Segovia and the surrounding plains. The city below contains a stunning Roman aqueduct and excellent Castilian cuisine. Located 90 minutes from Madrid by high-speed train, Segovia makes a perfect day trip. The castle, aqueduct, and cathedral create one of Spain's most photogenic urban landscapes. Try to visit at sunset when the limestone walls glow golden against the darkening sky, revealing why this ship castle has inspired artists and dreamers for centuries. From an impossible castle carved into a cliff face to a ship of stone that inspired Disney's dreams, we've journeyed through 12 of Europe's most extraordinary fortresses. Each one tells a story that you will remember forever. We've walked through the cave passages where a rebel knight mocked an empire, stood in the actual prison cell where Dracula was held captive, discovered fairy tale castles that break the internet while remaining completely unknown, explored fortresses built by warrior monks, mad kings, and families who controlled kingdoms for 800 years. But here's what strikes me most about these castles. They're not just ancient buildings. They're proof that human imagination and determination can create the impossible. Whether it's building inside a mountain, bankrupting a nation for beauty, or holding out against siege for centuries, these fortresses show us what happens when people refuse to accept limitations. The best part, every single one of these castles is waiting for you to discover, not as a tourist following crowds, but as a time traveler uncovering secrets that have been hidden for centuries. But this is only the beginning. Europe holds dozens more castle secrets that will completely transform how you see medieval history. From Italian fortresses that defy gravity, to French chateaux hiding royal scandals, to Nordic castles built on principles that modern engineers still can't explain. Don't forget to subscribe, because in part 2, I'm revealing castle secrets that make these 12 look almost conventional. Which of these 12 epic castles called to your soul? Let me know in the comments below. Your castle journey has only just begun.